In this video, I want to talk about 3 of the best strategies that I use to get gold in the early game of Palia. As you start the game, getting a lot of gold can be a bit difficult, and it isn't until later on in the game when you begin to optimize your garden and come up with masterclass farming routes that you start getting a lot of money. The first 2 of these you can pretty much start doing once you get into the world, and the third will require a bit of setup, but you can get started pretty early as well. Just a quick note, I finished this entire video and rendered it right before a recent update came out that changed some of the balancing of the stuff on this list. Overall, not a lot is different, but the first strategy was nerfed by about 25%, but it's still good money. The second strategy is also pretty much the same, but it's definitely more dependent on what I will say about it being dependent on how many people are around you. And the third strategy isn't changed at all. If you notice a couple of weird audio differences or some weird video, it is because an update caused me to edit this video a tiny bit. So let's go over them. The first is doing an Oyster Run. The second map of the game is Palia Bay, and you can access it on the eastern side of Kilima Village. You can go to this map straight away as you don't have to unlock anything to get there. As you enter Palia Bay, you can make your way to the eastern edge of the map and discover that it is a coastline all the way north and south across the map. Where basically, there's a ton of stuff that you can gather along the beaches across the map that you can then sell for a lot of gold. The main thing you're going for here are all the forgeable items on the ground along the beach. The most common ones are the oysters and the coral, but there is some other stuff you can pick up as well, where these don't individually sell for a lot of money, but there are a lot you can pick up in a short time frame, which means it accumulates fast. You can actually open the oysters, which will give you some oyster meat that you can cook into food or sell, and you also have a small chance of getting a pearl, which sells for quite a bit of gold. There's also a rare chance that you get a green pearl, which sells for even more gold. But this is a bit of a spoiler, you need one of these for the game's main story, so if you care about that, you may want to hold on to one. While picking up all the forgeable items will net you quite a bit of gold, there is some other stuff you can do while doing that. But the main thing that I like to do as I run around and collect these items is to bug hunt as well. There are a ton of different bugs all along the coast here that you can catch and sell for quite a bit of gold as well. This does require you to bring smoke bombs, which can take a space in your inventory, but is typically worth it for the gold you will get. And however much bug catching you want to do is up to you. You can go for all the bugs and sell them all, or you can prioritize the bugs that are worth more. If you see any bugs that are sparkling, that means they are a gold star bug and they will sell more than the normal alternative. You can also identify which bugs are less common than the others, such as the spine shell crabs, which are the purple crabs that appear during the day, as well as the striped shell snails, which are the purple snails that appear during evening and at night. On top of all of this, you can also look out for the special fishing spots along the ocean and catch gold star fish, and also be on the lookout for any other resources that you may want to gather near the beach, like trees or mining nodes. As I do this route, I mostly like to focus on just collecting all the forgeable items and catching some of the bugs, especially the less common ones, where I start on the southernmost end of the map at Beachcomber Cove and work my way up through the map, past Lighthouse Lagoon and all the way through Coral Shores, where I've noticed that Lighthouse Lagoon and Coral Shores tends to have the highest concentration of bugs and forgeables, but Beachcomber Cove also has a good amount. Do be aware that this route does suffer a little bit if there are a bunch of people in the area who are not working together, where some of this stuff will despawn after a little bit if someone else picks them up, and bugs will go away when people catch them. Or like a lot of stuff in this game, it's great to work together with other people or to come here with friends because it makes the route easier and everyone makes gold from doing it. I also recommend that you do this run when it's the evening and as it turns to night because it makes it easier to see all the forgeables you need to pick up, and it will also maximize the amount of gold you can make from bug catching. And one final note is that this run is kind of difficult to do over and over, or it is something that is best to come and do every now and then. For overall, this route is pretty easy to get into and pretty easy to do, and allows you to modify it a bit to what you are wanting to do. I went and did a full run during dusk and as it became nighttime, which took me about 10 minutes to pick up everything along the coast and catch a bunch of bugs. When I returned home, I opened all my oysters and sold everything that I got for a grand total of 1,600 gold from 10 minutes of effort, a few smoke bombs used, and a few pieces of bait used. The second strategy that I like to use is hunting. This strategy requires more skill and more active effort compared to the Oyster Run we just talked about, but as a result, it tends to give you more gold at a more consistent rate. And really, you can start hunting right when you get your bow and arrow from Hacian at the start of the game, and you can make a decent amount of money with the most basic supplies, but if you level up your bow and arrow, hunting becomes even easier and it lets you make even more gold. Where at the bare minimum, I highly recommend that you unlock and start using the first upgrade of arrows, which are the copper standard arrows. This will allow you to kill a normal Sernuk in one shot instead of 2 shots. Now there are a ton of different areas around the map that you can hunt at. There's one that I will talk about in a moment that I heavily recommend compared to everything else, but I'll also share the other spots that I like. A super important thing to know about hunting in Palia is that how the system currently is, the best way to optimize your gold gain is to actually hunt by yourself, where it becomes more difficult to hunt with other people, especially when you have upgraded tools. And alongside that, if you're hunting in an area that a lot of people are hunting in, you're going to earn less gold. Or while there is a spot that I consider the best spot to hunt at, many other people consider the spot the best spot as well, so it's often contested. Where if it is, you can go try at another location, or just come back later and see if no one is there. The first spot that I like is in Kilima Village around Mere Fields, Leafhopper Hills, and the plains west of the Remembrance Gardens, where there are a ton of Chappa and Cernuks all around this area that you can hunt. This is a pretty good spot to roam around and just hunt a bunch of creatures. The Chappas are great for brand new players because it only takes one basic arrow to kill compared to the Cernuks taking 2, but if you upgrade your arrows, then both are the same. There are also a ton of other resources around here you can get if you're specifically looking for something while you hunt. I find a ton of spice sprouts around the Mere Fields and a lot of copper ore near the hills and garden. The second spot that I like is in the Bahari Bay, and it's kind of 2 different areas I like to stay near. On the southern half of the map, there's the postwater plains that have a ton of Chappa and some Cernuks as well. Then on the northern half of the map, there's the area south and around the flooded steppes that have a ton of Cernuks. These 2 spots are pretty close to each other, as you can just run over the bridge and through the ancient aqueduct to get from one to the other. I especially like staying in the northern area, but come down to the southern area to hunt around there as well. However, these hunting spots are more difficult for new players because there are a lot of elder Cernuks and Chappas around here, where it takes a lot of shots to kill both of those creatures, but if you're a good shot and or have upgraded arrows, it becomes significantly easier. There's also a fair amount of the normal Cernuks and Chappas around here, so even if you have trouble killing the more difficult ones, there's still a good amount of gold you can make. Additionally, compared to the first spot, this area is in the Bahari Bay, so if you're looking for items that are only in Bahari, like bright streams or iron ore, this is a good place to come hunt while you look for those. And the third spot is my favorite spot, and many people consider it the best spot to hunt in the game, and it is in the Whispering Banks in Kilima Village. The spot has a lot of Cernuks around, like a lot. You can make a lot of gold by hunting around this area, but because of that, like I mentioned earlier, there's a chance that some people will be around here. But if you are in the spot by yourself and have a lot of arrows, you can make a lot of gold super quickly. Basically, the entire area around the Whispering Banks has Cernuks everywhere. You can start on the western side of the bridge by the entrance to Bahari, and then just start making laps around the river here, just killing all the Cernuks. You can also dip into the small valley just west of the Whispering Banks stables and find a bunch of Cernuks in there, and then go back to running around the banks. This is my favorite way and spot to make gold in the early game of Palia, and the Cernuks around here have funded many rooms for my house. I came here and hunted for a total of 10 minutes because that is how long it took me to do the complete Oyster Run. I ran around and hunted all the Cernuks and also picked up some mushrooms which you could turn into food, but I just sold them in this case. After about 10 minutes, I made a total of 2,863 gold from selling everything. And I could have kept going if I wanted to, because I happened to be the only person on my server interested in hunting in this area when I was here, where if I went for a full hour for example, I would have made a grand total of 17,178 gold from this spot, which is insane. This has already been nerfed and you can still make this much gold. I'm expecting it to get nerfed again in the future. But the third and final way you can make gold is through gardening. Now like I mentioned at the start of the video, this requires you to put in some time to get it up and running, but you can get started at the start of the game, where on the very basic level, just throw some seeds into your garden plot, start growing them, harvest them, sell them, and do it again. This will net you some gold and also get you started on leveling up your gardening skill. But going from there, we can really start to elevate how we garden. Where as you level up, you can make the active time it takes you to garden to be faster as you get better tools, which just isn't necessary to make more gold, and just makes our life a little bit easier. And as you get gold, you can buy more garden plots. They get more expensive as you buy each one, so it becomes more and more of an investment. But by buying more garden plots, you can plant more crops, which will give you more money, which will give you more and more profit as you make back what you spent on the plots, and then continue to make even more. There are 2 different crafting stations that are important for gardening. The first is worm bins, where you can throw in some of the crops you garden or any food from any other part of the game like mushrooms or cooked food, and then you will get worms, which are good for fishing, and fertilizer, which is good for gardening. Where different fertilizers will buff up your plants in different ways, so it's always good to throw onto your soil. But the second crafting station is the seed maker, where this plays 2 big roles for you. You can throw any crop you grew into the seed maker and you will get seeds back from it. This means you can save money and just continuously grow the crops over and over as long as you make enough seeds. This also means you can make more money, where selling seeds you make will give you more money than just selling the crop by itself. A single gold star tomato is worth 34 gold, but it gives you 2 gold star tomato seeds, which are worth 60 gold each, so you will get 86 more gold by turning a gold star tomato into tomato seeds, and then this is comparable to the different price points of all the crops. What a lot of people like doing is to expand their crafting licenses and create a ton of different seed makers and just turn all their crops into seeds, saving enough seeds to plant what they want to plant in their 81 garden slots and selling the rest for a lot of money. Additionally, this brings forth the question of which crops are the best to plant. Well, there are a ton of different crop layouts that people have come up with, which will be good for people who want to make money or for people who want to put in the least amount of effort. I'll share some of those on the screen like I've been doing, and I'll put a link down in the description. But generally, as long as you plant stuff, you can make money, and then you can level up your gardening skill and optimize your garden itself however much you want to make more money or not. What I personally have been doing is just planting a full field of tomatoes, harvesting all the tomatoes, throwing what I can into the 2 seed makers I have to turn into seeds, collecting enough seeds to plant the tomatoes again, and then selling all the extra seeds and tomatoes that I harvest. I went ahead and just did a full harvest of my tomatoes one time, where tomatoes grow back multiple times so you don't need to replant them as often, and I got a total of 6,271 gold from the tomatoes that I had put some fertilizer on, and from a harvest where I didn't convert any into seeds or save any for any other reason. Whereas I get further into the game, I'm probably going to stop doing this and grow things for accomplishments and to level my cooking and whatnot. But doing this has gotten me a lot of gold so far, where this third method of gardening can easily be paired with the previous 2 methods, where you can manage your garden at 6 AM every endgame morning, grow a bunch of crops to sell, and then go on an oyster or hunting run while you wait for the next endgame day and just make a lot of money. And with us understanding these 3 different farming methods, I think there are a couple of interesting things we can talk about. Where first things first, Palia is super chill. Don't be in a rush to make money unless that is what you are wanting to do. Approach a game how you want, make money how you want, and don't try to optimize the fun out of the game. This video is meant to serve as a guide for some ways to make money for when you are wanting to focus on that aspect of the game. This guide isn't meant to be a step-by-step tutorial on how to farm gold for 37 hours straight and ruin the fun of the game, like many have done in many other games. Play how you want and have fun how you want. Additionally, making gold in this game means you have to sell things, where if you're someone who likes hoarding items so you can have them for when you need them, you're going to have to get over that for some things, where you do have limited storage space, so you aren't going to be able to save all the items you want. And if you did save all the items, you wouldn't have any gold. My general tip for you if you're struggling with this is to identify which items are the easiest for you to get and which items are harder. For example, you don't really need to save sapwood. You can run right outside your plot and chop down a bunch of trees and get a few stacks in only a few minutes, or like the things I have shared in this video. If you saw how much Sernuk meat I sold in the hunting portion of this video, that only took me 10 minutes to get. If you need Sernuk meat and don't have any on you, it's super easy to go get. But again, just like I said previously, play the game how you want and have fun playing it. I hope this guide was helpful for you. These are the 3 big things I've been doing in Palia to make some money. Palia is obviously in beta, so things are bound to change, though I would assume that all 3 of these methods will always be decent ways to make money in the game, but stuff like the Sernuk hunting at Whispering Banks will likely get nerfed because it is just an obscene amount of money. I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves, subscribe for more Palia content, and have a good one everyone.